Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, welcome back, and today let's go over Season 7's Gambit Pinnacle weapon, the Hush Combat Bow. I've been hearing multiple opinions on the bow, and those opinions vary depending on a number of things. If you're on console or on PC, if you like bows or not, if you like Gambit or not, if you're using it in PvE or PvP. Now, I've spent a lot of time with Hush. I have well over 1,000 PvP kills with it so far, and I hope to help some of you get better with it, especially on console. Now, the goal of the review is to present information. That way you can make a decision on if you want to go for it or not. I give tips throughout the review on usage, and at the end, my overall conclusion. In this review, we'll discuss one of the easiest routes to complete the quest, what the quest entails, how the bow works with its perks, and how well it works on console. And then again, at the end, if it's worth getting. Now, I'm an Xbox user, so if you play on console, you have to use it differently than on PC. That's just the way things are. You don't have the precision that they have, you have aim assist, you have to use your thumbs, and a number of other different factors are in play. Before we get started, I need to say something about the Hush bow. It's a very, very lethal weapon in the Crucible. I think it's very good. However, it's an extremely skillful weapon. I mean, extremely skillful. When it comes to the Pinnacle perk that it has, there's a type of skill level that's downright deadly in some players' hands, and it's going to be average in other players' hands. That's just with the Pinnacle perk though. That isn't to say that if you aren't good with it at the start, you can't get better with practice, and even if you don't quite get there, that doesn't mean it's not a good bow, because the Hush at core base with its perks is very, very good. One of the best bows in the game, and we'll explore that throughout the review. To get Hush, you pick up the bounty from the Drifter. It requires you to land 1,000 final blows with bows in Gambit. You also need 500 headshots with a bow in Gambit, and then to earn medals while playing Gambit. A lot of Gambit. This is a very grindy quest, but let's talk about ways to move it along a little bit quicker. First things first, I recommend that you use Trinity Ghoul if you have it. From what I tested and experienced going throughout the quest, the Trinity Ghoul has the highest ceiling, the most consistency, and here's why. Remember with Trinity Ghoul, after you land a headshot, you're granted a lightning rod. That means the next shot will have lightning rounds, kind of similar to Thunderlord, kind of similar to Arc Web, and with Trinity Ghoul, those lightning rod kills count as bow final blows. And also remember that you can chain the lightning rod. Each headshot grants one. So you can get a headshot on one ad, get the lightning rod, you headshot the next one, and the lightning that comes out, say it gets 3 kills or more. So that one ad will result in 1 headshot towards your progress, 2 to 4 to 5 on the overall kills in the 1000 section. Other bows are okay, Monarch, Wish Ender, any of the legendary bows, but Trinity Ghoul can get you progress very fast because those lightning kills really start adding up. You're going to be getting the bow kills done before the medals part, so after that, I recommend to get off the bow and use more of a traditional Gambit loadout. Focus on big medals. The big medals give you more percentage for completion. Also, I like Gambit Prime way more than regular Gambit, but regular Gambit has more of an opportunity to get more medals. You have at least 2 rounds, that's 2 first to bank medals, and so on. So if you want to get it done as fast as possible, I recommend you go into regular Gambit with Trinity Ghoul. Once completed, you go back to the Drifter to receive the Pinnacle Hush bow. It lies in the energy slot as Solar. This is a 760 draw time precision frame combat bow, a longer draw time optimized for damage. It has a natural string for a slight increase to accuracy, handling, and stability, straight fletching for increased accuracy. It also has an accuracy masterwork. For its stats, with those combined, it has an accuracy of 96, stability of 50, handling of 59, reload of 46, an aim assist stat of 64, and a recoil direction stat of 78. This bow has a 1.8 times zoom. Its first perk is Opening Shot, the only bow to have it, and it makes a big difference. Improved accuracy and range on the opening shot of attack. We have this very high accuracy stat of 96 and then Opening Shot. So before we get into its Pinnacle perk, let's understand just how great this bow is due to it having that combo. First off, Opening Shot really widens the hitbox for this bow, coupled with that accuracy stat. You can get headshots with this thing that you have no business getting. And this also happens at range as well. Extremely wide and generous hitbox. And because of all the accuracy range, it hits shots at max damage over 110 meters, which is absurd, absolutely absurd how accurate it is. And a big note, with its high accuracy, range, aim assist, you can confidently take shots from the air without an Icarus mod. You can do that and feel great about it. It's a highlight of this bow. I do it consistently and often with Hush. The mod that you want is Freehand Grip, because the goal is to land a hip-fire precision hit for the Pinnacle perk, which we'll talk about in a moment. With Freehand, it increases accuracy and ready speed while firing from the hip. And next to each other on the left side of the screen, we have Hush with Target Adjuster. On the right side, we have Freehand Grip. As you can see, with Freehand, it tightens up that hip-fire reticle cone, so you can land some better shots from hip-fire. I've used all bows in the game multiple times, and just know, my personal opinion, as far as hit detection and overall feel of a combat bow, the Hush kind of enters its own league when you're aiming down sights and fares a lot better than any other bow in the game when firing from the hip. Even if you don't get to use its Pinnacle perk too much, and the majority of the background footage has the perk active, it still lands crazy shots with this hitbox. It's a very good bow. And know that if you were just to use it regular with no Pinnacle perk in mind, it's elite almost solely due to opening shot and the 96 accuracy stat. But let's get into its Pinnacle perk, Archer's Gambit. Hipfire precision hits grant a massive draw speed bonus for a short duration. This is where the fun starts, and this is where PC and console have a night and day difference. All my console people. In a moment, we'll talk about how to use this perk for console, how to get the most out of it. When you hipfire an enemy with a precision shot, a timer goes on the screen for Archer's Gambit. This doesn't have to be a final blow, just a precision hit. The timer lasts for 8 seconds, it starts at 7 and 00 counts. In this time frame, you have a massive draw speed bonus. This draw speed bonus is more than 2 times fast, more like 3 times, like maybe a little bit over 3 times faster than the regular draw speed. When you have the perk active, you can start going into aim down sights, and you'll have that draw speed as well, and this is important. We'll talk about this later on in the review. Let's get into its PvE application. It's actually pretty good. It has a fun factor to it, and that's something that's measured on a player-to-player basis. I love using this thing. It's really cool when you start grooving with it. And it's really something to ask yourself as you're watching. Some of you are thinking, dude, that sounds fun, and others like, meh, I can live without that. I've done the Crown of Sorrow raid twice with it, and it did just fine. I will say though, it isn't the best major killer. A loaded question and various other weapons will do better. I don't have a major spec on Hush, but my raid gear does have energized on one of my classes, meaning that I get a damage buff with my energy weapon after an energy weapon kill. Even with that small bump, it still struggled. The bow does do high damage though, and I used it as an ad clear, and I used a trench barrel kinetic shotgun as my yellow bar weapon. For me, that was the combination. I can quickly go ad to ad with the bow, and most of them you can just one-shot body shot, target to target to target. It's really fun. And when you use it on higher tier enemies, the damage isn't necessarily bad. You can hip fire that first shot, have Archer's Gambit, get a lot of arrows out. And again, it's a really heavy hitting bow, so it does stun lock them a lot. And console users, it's really easy to get the Pinnacle perk to proc in PvE. You don't have to worry about that at all. Enemies are easy targets. You can get that perk going and start going to town on them. But again, personally, I didn't have success with higher tier majors and so on. And those are enemies that some weapons make very easy work of. So if I were you, I would try to see if you like how it deals with majors, but I recommend a Swashbuckler primary or something like Trench Barrel. It is the Gambit Pinnacle weapon. It does very well in Gambit. It can pretty much hit anything from most, if not all, distances. You have a lot of ads that spawn when the sections move. The Hush really does shred them, and it's a blast to do. The only rough thing though is, again, for blockers, things like that, a Trench Barrel shotgun is needed for the larger ones. But for the playlist that it's designed to be in, it does great. It's different than anything that you've ever used before. One of the best things about it though is that when an invader comes, you're gonna have the Pinnacle perk ready if you prepare. You just hit fire an ad and then start searching for the invader. When you find them, they're gonna find out real quick that you have on Hush. It's a very good weapon if they invade. One of my favorite things to do with it. And it's an overall solid option because you're always gonna have ammo for it. For PvP, things switch up on how you want to use it. The Pinnacle perk makes you extremely lethal. This right here has a very high skill gap, and this perk to me as a player that uses a lot of weapons really intrigues me. It's something that I want to get better at. And if you don't use bows, this one is a rare case of special. It feels very rewarding when you do well with it. Unfortunately, I can't talk about PC too intelligently, and I'm being upfront here with that. I do see PC players though tearing it up with Hush. The ability to be precise while in hipfire goes a long way, and PC players can stay in hipfire after they proc the Pinnacle perk no problem. With mouse and keyboard, you can do amazing things with Hush, at least from what I've seen, due to how accurate you can be. You don't have to deal with aim assist, bloom, things like that, the severity that console has at least. On a perfect draw, it does 151 to the head and 101 to the body. It's going to be a 2-shot kill no matter what, and that's important to remember as we go on. For console, from what I've learned, with well over 1,000 kills so far in PvP, you have to approach this bow differently. And this might help PC players as well. On console, you have aim assist, slightly different magnetism, and hipfire on console isn't the most reliable way of shooting regardless of weapon class. So it's important to know for you console guys, with Hush, the aim assist stops at around 34.5 meters. Coincidentally, that's about the same range as an Austringer with hammer-forged accurized rangefinder and then a range masterwork. The hipfire range is essentially hand cannon range. That's how you kind of judge it. When the reticle is red, you're getting a lot of help. Within this range right here is where you want to go for more reliable hipfire shots. Anything further, it's going to have issues. But that isn't to say that you can't land long precision shots on console to get that perk to proc, because you can. Even over 100 meters, but for it to hit, you have to be right on the money with little to no aim assist, and the very small amount of bloom that this bow has to be in your favor. So the best way to get Hush going on console, I found, is to use the bow rarely until you get into that range. Remember, the base bow is elite with essentially max range and opening shot. It's a monster. But once you get to that 35 meter and close range, you should really start searching for those hipfire precision hits to get the perk going. And sure, if you're able to take low risk hipfire shots at long range, take the shot. Take it until you can't take it anymore. Because the bow playstyle by design is a very careful one. Withdrawal times, if you're caught out in the open, you won't be able to get off a second shot. Except with this bow. You can with this bow if you have the Pinnacle perk. And it's all dependent on if you have that perk or not. But here's the next important thing for console. Once you get the Pinnacle perk procced, I highly recommend you start immediately aiming down sights. It goes back to what was shown earlier about the hitbox with opening shot. If you get that perk going and then decide to keep hip firing on console, you have to be on the money. And in this example, as you can see, I don't move my crosshair. The hipfire shot miss, and it will continue to miss, but once I aim down sights, that shot hits. That's because that extra help you get while aiming down sights on console, all that accuracy paired with opening shot. So once you get the perk procced from hipfire, go back to aiming down sights and then start going to town. I enjoy this so much. It's some of the most fun I've had in Destiny 2. You literally turn into Hawkeye for 8 seconds. But back to it, when you're in this time frame, all you have to do is land shots. Of course, if you see an enemy that's low or it's taking damage, you hit them in the head. But most of the time, your enemy is going to be full health. The bow does 101 to the body, so just double body them and move on to the next one. And that's okay, it's hard work to get the perk procced in the first place. And talking to console again, the perks really help. On PC, they definitely help as well, but look at bow targeting on your helmet, enhanced if you can. You get improved target acquisition, accuracy, and aim down sight speed with bows. Every little bit helps with what we want to do with this bow. The same goes for bow unflinching on your chest piece. As for what to pair it with, I generally run a high impact hand cannon with a bow, specifically Monarch. That way I can take the bow shot, clean them up with a Rampage Duke, then my next opponent will be a 2-tap. And that goes for any bow really that I'm using. To me, the bow is more of a primer, but with Hush, I pair it with a shotgun because the Hush is the finisher. I pair it with a shotgun because I look for that hipfire shot as long as I possibly can. As enemies close in on me, I am hip firing until I can't do it anymore, and then they're in my shotgun range. That's when I have to defend myself, or say I'm going to be in close quarters and I use the shotgun aggressively. And the very last thing for console, and this just might be how it is. If you haven't noticed throughout the gameplay, I'm on the hunter using Oath Keepers. Even though I have a lot of kills with Hush, I'm still trying to get better with it. I'm still learning each game on my engagement distance. The Oath Keepers are kind of like training wheels for it. The Hush is still going to perform the same way on any character, but with these, you can stay in hip fire all the time, you don't lose damage or accuracy. And I also pair it with Top Tree Golden Gun for Chains of Woe. It helps get that arrow out even a little bit faster than it already does. But I would say as a console user, you should be starting here. That of course depends on if you have a hunter and you have Oath Keepers, but this is 100% the best way to get the feel for this bow on console. And it might ultimately be one of the only ways to get this bow going on console, because you can always hold your draw and always be accurate from hipfire, because it is kind of tough to land hipfire shots on console. In conclusion, very, very fun weapon, but that's going to be player dependent. So should you go for it? That depends on a couple things. You should go for it if 1, you like bows. You want to have this one in your inventory because it's special. 2, you like what you saw. With these reviews, I try to show as much as I can. You can see what you can do with it. You can see how you have to play with it. In PvE, it has a bow power fantasy to it. It really does. And 3, you like a challenge, especially you PvP players. It's a very challenging weapon to master. And that's one of the things that really draws it to me. I want to get better with it. But there's also some reasons not to go for it, and they're almost the opposite. Number 1, it's a bow. You don't like bows, you don't like the bow playstyle. Some players just simply don't like them, and that's perfectly fine. Number 2, you don't like Gambit. You probably have to put in at least 8 hours of Gambit to get this Pinnacle weapon. And 3, the truth is, and I'm being 100% honest, a lot of weapons are good at clearing ads, some better than others. With Hush, that's kind of the main thing about it. Some players don't mess with something like this. They'll stick with the loaded question, and that's 100% okay. It does one-shot a lot of enemies, and the higher tier enemies, it does stun lock them a lot. That's never a bad thing. I do like it though, it's a truly unique weapon. And I'm 100% serious in saying that for PvP, it could quite possibly be the highest skill gap weapon in the history of the franchise. No joke. It does some things that other weapons simply can't do, but then again, it doesn't do things that other weapons can do very easily. It's kind of a give-take, but hopefully the review showed you a good glimpse of what you can expect. So if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button, like and comment if you guys see fit. I would like to know what you guys think of the Hush bow. This goes for PC users, console users. I do know that a lot of players find it really difficult. I'm just now getting to a point where I'm very comfortable with it, and it's gonna take time. So let's talk about it in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, spending a little bit of your day with me, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.